Hey, this is Skylar.
My name's the Devil's Rejects.
I'm the big-time wrestling heavyweight champion, Flex Armstrong.
I'm the connected
Rusev Day every day?
It's Rusev Day every day.
Exactly.
And you're watching the Wrestling Connection.
You're watching Wrestling Connection.
And watch the Wrestling Connection.
You're watching the Wrestling Connection.
I hear that women gain immortality from licking the feet of babies.
What? Say.
Be connected, get connected, and stay connected, brothers.
Allison.
Hello, Allison, and welcome to the.
Be connected, get connected, stay connected.
Let's get the big, of course, with the official presentation. Thank you.
Get connected, be evil, or die.
Moving on.
Be connected, get connected, stay connected.
Hello and welcome to episode 275, oh boy, of the most award-winning must-see talk show to ever hit Bedford Airways, or any airways for that matter. North, south, east, west, backwards, frontwards, sideways, diagonal, whichever way you want to look at it, being brought to you all around the world, the Wrestling Connection. I am your host, the consumer of wrestling knowledge, the literal breaker of Kens, the prize of the Wrestling Connection, the legacy of Team Kaufman, Dan Kaufman, delivering the news that you need to know. And this will be a very introspective episode, I feel. So, first things first, this just came out yesterday, so I have to bring it up. We have officially lost another member of our legends who are still with us. Harley Race, one of the most influential people to come out from the 70s, known for his incredible feuds with the likes of Ric Flair, the first ever King of the Ring, if I do recall. King Harley Race, has unfortunately passed on. He will be fondly remembered for all of the things that he introduced, and he will also be remembered for the things that he's not proud of introducing. For example, the flying headbutt. He has brought up many times that he wished he had never brought that up. But he was a multiple-time champion, twice. I believe he held it at least 2 times in a row during near the end of the 70s, which is very impressive. And he stopped wrestling in the 90s. That's a long time to wrestle. You will be missed. Now, once again, another week passed without me being here. This has been getting tougher and tougher. So I'd imagine people were wondering, where is the review of WWE Extreme Rules? Well, truth is, I did watch it, but it was a while ago, and I honestly do not have that good of a recollection of it at this moment. So, if I were to try and give you an honest review of it, it would be disingenuous. The best bits I still remember is still got to be the main event, which was surprising considering Baron Corbin was in it. But, it ended with a very interesting and surprising move where Baron Corbin actually hit Becky Lynch with the End of Days, turned around to Seth Rollins and yelled, "What are you going to do about it, you piece of?" Which led to Seth going on an incensed tirade, demolishing Baron Corbin to win, which then led to Brock Lesnar cashing in and is now your current champion into SummerSlam. So once again, going back to that well. So you want to know, where is this review? Unfortunately, you're not going to get it. I'm sorry. Because there is a much bigger topic I do need to bring up, and it is a topic that's been plaguing me for a while. And I'm sorry how this is going to come up, but we are going to be going into our D Kennection. And the topic is burnout. So, for those of you who followed the show for a long time, know that this was originally Ken's show. Kenny Hill was the brainchild. He was the founder. This was his brainchild. And over a year ago, January of last year, he brought me into the fold, and we had a full year nonstop with the two of us going back and forth with all the information that we could deliver as much as we possibly could, and giving a lot of fun moments as proven with our intro. It's a lot of fun. But earlier this year, he had gotten his full-time position that he's been trying to get to for a while, leaving the show in my care, which I have done my best to uphold it. I've brought what I could for impact, what I could for personality, and I think I've done a pretty good job, and people around me still said I do a good job too. But I am not from this area. It has not been easy constantly getting back here and forth. And during that month hiatus, where things just kept happening over and over again, it really, really did hit me how much I've struggled to keep this show afloat. And I don't intend to have the show stop. That is not what this is about. Burnout is one thing, but a complete disinterest and therefore lack of desire to do it, that is completely different. I will bring up what my plans are at the end of the episode. So, I want to bring up my story so far coming to this moment. It's not going to be that extensive. So I've mentioned before, I started in the very late 90s. So this was back when the major stars were Austin, The Rock, Mick Foley. Triple H is your main bad guy. The Undertaker is still very prevalent. These are your top tier characters. The guys who are always somewhere in that title contention. And I've gone out to say before that Mick Foley and Steve Austin are tied as my favorite wrestlers of all time. So it was a good time to be around, watching them doing all that stuff. And I watched up until I had to think about it for a while. But I do remember when I started to no longer remember things that are going on because I stopped watching. And it was actually just a little after the passing of Eddie Guerrero. So that makes it 2005. 1999 to 2005, I was heavily invested. But right after that, I started losing interest to the point I didn't watch the show. And I honestly thought I was out. I was out. I was done. There was nothing left for me. So, characters who were coming in, the whole Spirit Squad thing, nope. None of it. A chunk of DX is reforming? Nope. A lot of John Cena's main push Sting at the top? No. Like, he had just really gotten to the top. And then it was constant back and forth with him and Triple H, I believe. And him and Edge specifically. A lot of the Edge as the top heel, I was not a part of. So for things like him and Mick Foley, things like him and The Undertaker, I did miss out a good chunk of. And guys like Bobby Lashley coming in, the new Nexus stuff, well, not the new Nexus, the core, which was dumb. But one man did get my interest back into wrestling. And no one should be surprised about who it is. CM Punk. CM Punk got me back into WWE and wrestling as a whole. That's why I will never say anything bad about him. Because if it weren't for him, I wouldn't be sitting here right now. I'd have put wrestling behind me. 2011. So from 2005 to 2011, I barely paid any mind to WWE or wrestling as a whole. Then the whole scenario with CM Punk sitting down, cutting that incredible promo where he just went off on the entirety of the backstage WWE politics, which I wasn't really aware of until then. And after that moment, I wasn't just a fan. I was a consumer of knowledge for the wrestling industry. I decided to fully look into what reasons would this happen, what reasons would that happen, not because of what was shown to me on screen, but because of the people who would be interested in staying on top. And from that, I've watched from 2011 to now. That's 8 years. 8 years of my life I've devoted to watching wrestling after a 6-year hiatus. And I'm not going to lie, it's been tough. There are definitely lulls, parts where I'm just like, I don't care. I really don't care. That's interesting, but I know they're not going to pull it off. And it stinks because right now, guys I love to watch, I love to see what they do, are on TV, and I've lost interest in what they're doing. Not because of them, but because I know who's putting the words in their mouth. Guys like Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. This was an incredible feud, incredible friendship, where these two destroyed each other from pillar to post. Kevin Owens powerbombing Sami into the apron. The fatal four-way inner IC title match, where the moment the bell rung, Sami immediately ran over and gave a haluva kick to Kevin Owens before anyone could do anything or figure it out. You know, their amazing battle at Battleground, which was supposed to be the end of their feud, which, let's face it, they kept wrestling. Where, you know, Sami finally got his revenge, his real revenge on Kevin Owens. And then the two of them became best friends and all. And, you know, Sami became, you know, I tried doing the right thing and I always got bitten behind for it, and I'm done trying to be the nice guy. You know, and Kevin just, you know, basically saying welcome to the fold, and them just being best friends. And you know what? They never went to the tag team division. They could have won the belts, but they never did. They kept them as maybe title contention, but you know they're not going to win. Now, Sami's again lost in the shuffle. You know, being used as Vince's mouthpiece to mouth off to the crowd, calling them toxic, while Kevin Owens is being repackaged and repurposed as a babyface. But they're rehashing the Stone Cold Steve Austin stuff, which they did before with Becky. You know, you're going to be the badass guy, and you're going to go against authority, and you're going to do whatever you have to stay on top, and everyone's going to love you for it until they don't know what else to do. AJ Styles and Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe is one of the most dangerous looking individuals. One of the most charismatic. When he talks, you listen. And every time he goes up there for a title match, he loses. It could be a surprise roll-up. It could be a fast count. It could be, you know, cheating to win, or something the ref didn't see. What have you. It doesn't matter. Samoa Joe does not win. The most recent title. The first title he won was the U.S. title, and he lost it to Rey Mysterio. It was given back to him because Rey got hurt, and the pin was bad. So he's a champ again, and then he loses on his first defense to Ricochet. So there's nothing there about him. AJ Styles is the best one out of all of them in terms of how much they've given him and let him do. And he's the current U.S. champion, and I'm proud for him. But he's just one individual. He's just one. And anyone who knows me, in particular, knows that the two guys I was always looking forward to the most was Kevin Owens and Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt had an amazing gimmick, something that you don't get to see often. One where he's a preacher, a cult leader, a mystic, a leader. And now, just very recently, a split personality of a fiend and your neighbor. And the Firefly Funhouse was inspired. I loved watching it. But here's the thing. I didn't watch the shows. I went to YouTube and I pulled the clips up so I could watch them. I haven't watched... I cannot remember the last time I watched a full episode of Raw SmackDown. I can't. It's been so long, I just listen to what happened so I can have it in the background, podcasts of some kind to listen to what happened. If I hear a clip that sounds like it interests me, I look up the clip and the clip alone. I can't stand watching the full shows anymore. 3 hours is already too long for me to watch. Now the 2-hour ones are too long for me too. So I listen to the things that happen so I know about what's going on. I check some of the clips, and then I wait until the pay-per-views. I make predictions, and I'm pretty good at predictions without having even watched the content. You know why? Because they're predictable. Like I said, after I came back from at 2011 and I listened to all the backstage stuff, instead of trying to think who's best to win for the story, it's who's best to win as according to Vince McMahon in the backstage. How are they going to continue this story? The Firefly Funhouse was inspired because Bray Wyatt had full control over that. But the Firefly Funhouse was to reintroduce him as the Fiend, which is a seriously terrifying mask, and it's really cool. And he first came out, and he attacked Finn Balor. Awesome. That's really cool. And then the lights came out, and he attacked Mick Foley. And then it dawned on me. That's all this is going to be. The Firefly Funhouse stuff, if that comes out, that's awesome, and I'll bring it up. But anytime he shows up as the Fiend, he's not going to do anything. He's going to come out, he's going to attack the guy, and he's going to stand tall, and he's going to vanish. It's a one-bullet loaded gun. And after you fire it, what's left? I don't have confidence in the writing, the creative team at WWE to keep it interesting. None of these guys. I trust them with none of them. They're putting all their eggs in the baskets of Seth Rollins. Amazing wrestler, phenomenal wrestler. Not always the most charismatic. They're putting all their eggs in the baskets of Brock Lesnar, because they consider him the biggest draw, but he's only the biggest draw because of the fact that they don't have, I can't even say they haven't tried, they don't have the talent to keep the stars who could become the big ones interesting. The biggest, and I mean this, the biggest problem, the biggest way of proving that is Becky Lynch. After she won the belts, they've cooled off on her. They don't mean to. They want to keep her interesting, but she's not doing anything. She's going out saying that she's, so happy to be in her position that she's so humble about it. But at the same time, she's still a ass kicker and she's still going to take names. And, like, that's not what got people happy about her. People liked her when she was the one who no longer cared what other people thought. People liked her when she was going after anyone who slighted her and gave the most vicious insults. Before she won these belts, she was okay being a babyface. You want to know why? Because she stepped up to John Cena and basically punked him out. People liked her because while trying to get to her match with Ronda, she punked out Steph, and then she punked out Triple H. Now she has the belts, and you know what she is? She's now Seth Rollins' girlfriend, and Seth Rollins is now Becky Lynch's boyfriend. I have no faith in them. And when I have no faith, I have no motivation, no interest. And it's something I really haven't tried to talk about. I've talked about having, not trusting creative to do this, not trusting to do that, and it affecting my judgment on certain things. But I never really talked about what it meant to me. There is a serious dilemma going on right now with the wrestling world, primarily WWE. WWE, despite all its flaws, is still considered the flagship of the wrestling world. It might change in the future, but as of right now, people see WWE when they think wrestling. And WWE's in serious trouble. Because they can't get their minds out of the past. They can't think to the future. And every time I'm watching, the longer I watch, I see over and over and over again the same story beats that keep happening. The Festival of Friendship, as fun as it was, is literally Shawn Michaels' barbershop attack on Marty Jannetty. Kevin Owens using the stunner, proving that he's now the next Stone Cold Steve Austin, but so was Becky Lynch. We thought the same thing about CM Punk, didn't we? Daniel Bryan winning the belt after all the odds saying that he wasn't going to. That's an incredible feeling. It's also what happened with Mick Foley, didn't it? Mankind winning the belt. Sure, he didn't hold on to it. Guess what? Neither did Daniel Bryan, because he got injured. I'm not saying there aren't good things about WWE. Kofi Kingston as champion has been great. It really has. The New Day has always been a fun thing. But when Seth Rollins, Becky Lynch, and Kofi Kingston all come out and say how grateful they are to be champions after WrestleMania, when all three of them sound exactly the same, there's a problem. When Samoa Joe has the same exact idea of how to get into his opponents, going after his family, going after his loved ones, going after his friends, and he can't win a single match with that tactic, there's something wrong. And when you have top guys who decide that they're better off leaving the company to go and become some of the hottest things in the world without being tagged to WWE. Guys like Jon Moxley, guys like Chris Jericho, guys like Shawn Spears, guys like Cody Rhodes, guys like Dustin Rhodes. Where's that going to leave them? Because now you're spreading thin. Because if you're going to be a wrestling, I'm going to bring it back to me, to this kind of show. If you're going to be a wrestling talk show, you need to talk about WWE. But when there's so much else out there and you can't focus on everything because there's everything. And if you want to focus on WWE, well, is it going to be WWE? Is it going to be WWE NXT? Is it going to be NXT UK? Is it going to be, or are you just going to ignore that, which people are going to immediately get upset about? Are you going to go to Impact? Are you going to go to ROH? Are you going to go to New Japan? Are you going to go to AEW when this finally comes out? Where does it end? I'm sorry, guys. I have other interests. I can't be the wrestling guy going to watching everything and having no life. Burnout. There's a lot of wrestling, and when a lot of the ones that you watch is mediocre, it depresses you. It makes it hard to motivate. It makes it hard to come out here and show you my best when I have been subjected to the worst. The mundane. Don't get me wrong. This isn't... when I say worst, I don't think it means so bad, like the worst. Because guess what? When it gets down that road, it's so bad it's good. When I say worst, I mean the boring, the mundane, the repetitive. And WWE's been stuck in that rut for a long time. And every time it looks like there's a glimmer, gone. So, what does that mean for me? What does that mean for this show? The show's not stopping. Not unless something happens and I really do need to take a break. However, I will tell you this now. Do not expect a show every week. It could be every other week. I'm not going to try to go more than 1 week absence. But I need to try and find my inspiration back. As for next week, it's going to be the go-home show for SummerSlam. So I still have to do the pay-per-view. So I will be here. After that, I intend to do a review. Actually, I'm going to have people around, so I'm going to watch the show. It'll be fresh. I'll do the review. After that, it's going to probably be switched to every other week. And it'll probably be earlier in the day, so I don't have to be traveling in the middle of the day when rush hour starts. I wish it was different. I do. I wish wrestling kept my interest as much, because I still listen to all the news. You know, there are talks about AEW having new guys coming out. There's talks about Goldberg coming back. There's talks about Shawn Michaels having another match with Dolph Ziggler. Daniel Bryan still has this groundbreaking revelation he hasn't mentioned yet. Randy Orton and Kofi Kingston are finally going to have that rematch to make up for what happened all those years ago. Last time Kofi had a singles push. A lot of things are happening, and I'm not excited about any of them. And that's a problem. Maybe things will change. Maybe some kind of spark will happen. Maybe I'll come back and I'll do it every single week without fail. Maybe I'll do 2 episodes a week if something inspires me. Until then, I thank everybody for their continuing support. I thank everyone who watches the show for their critiques, whether it be positive or negative. I am truly appreciative for people with their passion for wrestling talking to me about it. I thank the networks that let me do this show. I thank Ken for leaving the show in my care, and I apologize to him if he's upset about any of this. But I've talked to him before about the show might have to go on hiatus one day. And I'm not putting it on hiatus, but I am going to limit the amount of episodes. I want to have my creative flow back. I want that fire back. So we'll see. We'll see. But until then, everyone, thank you for staying with me through this. I hope you understand. The show's not going to stop. The show will continue. It'll just be every few weeks instead of every week. And of course, one thing that won't change, paper preview, paper review. They have to still happen, so those will be back to back. You know, it's tentative. Just keep your eyes and ears peeled. And as always, be connected, get connected, and stay connected. Have a good night, people.
I've heard it too many times to ignore it. It's something that I'm supposed to be. Someday we'll find it, the restful connection, the lovers, the dreamers,